On my chip outs, man. I got this, yeah.
What's up, Detroit? This is the Riles and Riley Rundown back for another post-game episode. Okay, Detroit, Week 2 is in the books, and, well, we can take a lot away from this game.
Much more than, well, I mean, we could take some from last week, but last week it was, it was nothing but interceptions.
Yeah, we're going to do the exact same thing as we did last week, do the goods, the bads, the uglies. The good, in my opinion, for the first thing I want to throw out there is the fact that, yes, we did lose this game, but we only lost by 8 points, and we played one of the worst games we've played in a long time. I mean, Stafford did not look that great. As we were just talking about, he had one good pass to Pettigrew that I don't know how he fit it in, and Brendan doesn't either. But besides that, Stafford was not great. The run game kind of got silenced. We'll get to more of that in a minute. We do have an update on a few running backs that might be visiting town.
Yeah, I do agree. Honestly, and that good is not a very... That's not the kind of good you want to look at. Even though we played a bad game, we only lost by 8. But honestly, the passing game didn't look that great. You know what? I give credit to the running game for what they did against... I mean, considering our running game is weak, what they did against San Francisco was not terrible. Of course, it wasn't good, but we don't have a good running game in the first place. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of good to come from this game. I'm not saying this game was terrible, and I didn't expect to win this game, and I don't think too many Detroit fans did.
Right.
But it could have been much worse.
Yep, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, the running game wasn't one of the key factors in the game leading up. We actually even said that if we were going to win this game, you did not want to see the running game have a great day because that meant Stafford wasn't going to have a great day. Both kind of happened. I mean, we had a mediocre rushing game, which is I'm completely fine with if we have a mediocre,
especially against a good defense.
Exactly, but in that case, Stafford has got to perform. And, I mean, we were having the debate at the beginning of the season about is Stafford elite? And these first 2 weeks have not really
It's not
lived
time
up
to
to
hit
his
the
specs.
panic button on Stafford, which I know some people are.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean, I don't think anyone's hitting the panic button on Stafford for his career. I think everybody sees him as an elite quarterback in the future. But people are starting to worry that he might not be very good this year. I think next week shows a lot. Phillip Rivers tore apart Tennessee, and so did Tom Brady, I believe it was.
Yep.
Matt Stafford should do the same thing. I expect the Lions to come out next week and really take a step on the right track.
Yeah, I will throw one more or one good out there, I guess, since we're pretty much going to be beating him up all day today. But I did like the way that Stafford spread the ball around again last game.
Oh,
I mean,
that's something that you don't see the average.
No, he hit 8 receivers again. All 3 tight ends got a pass, and all the receivers got a pass this week. But moving on now, I mean, it's.
You know what? One other good, and minor take from this. What do you think about Joey Bell? I mean,
yeah,
his rushing yards per carry, I don't think was anything special. Wait, hold on, let me look that up real quick. 2.3 yards per carry. Of course, that's not very good, but he's the guy who we have in there currently to pick up a couple yards. That's gonna be Mikel Ashore's job.
Joey Bell actually had the play in the fourth quarter that kept that game alive with the little screen pass to for Matthew Stafford, and he ran 30 yards to get the first base. Yeah, he did.
He's good at breaking tackles, but he's so slow.
He did, but I mean, he did get the game saving, or not game saving, but
he kept them in the game with that big play.
Exactly.
On a 3rd and 15 or 16, I believe, as well.
And again, I mean, we said it from the get-go last week. We said whoever had the ball last was going to win this game, and that's exactly what happened. Didn't actually turn out the way we thought it was going to happen.
And you know what? That onside kick at the end, I didn't necessarily agree with the call. How they kicked it over, they tried to kick the far.
It almost worked, though.
But you know what? That's the kind of call I like to see my coaching staff make, although I didn't necessarily agree it was the best chance to get. If you recover that ball, I'm telling you right now, if you recover that ball, I don't think we would have lost that game.
No.
Have the ball in the 30, have all that momentum going your way. Yeah. I mean, and I could be dead wrong, but that's the way I feel about that.
Yeah. All right, now we got to turn over to the bad because, I mean, we all know that there was a lot more bad than good. I'm going to start off with, first of all, Alex Smith tore us up in that fourth quarter drive, and we've got to do something about that. Brendan's going to have a little bit of news as to why we found out that Alex Smith might have been tearing us apart in a couple minutes. But, yeah, I mean, we made him look just like he did against the Saints last year. I mean, Crabtree basically tore us apart on his own. I mean, he had 67 yards in the game. I would not doubt if 50 of them came in that last drive.
Yeah, I don't know where exactly it was in the game, but for those of you who haven't heard yet, Drayton Florence, I believe it was a broken arm. It was some arm injury. They say he could miss some significant time. That's scary because that means now I fully expect Houston will be back next week. Even if he is, and Bentley's not, all of a sudden you're going Houston and Lacey again with Jonte Green. This cornerback, if these cornerbacks don't get healthy and stay healthy, it's going to be a very long season.
Well, let's look at it from last week's injury report. Right now you have Delmas out, Houston out, Florence out, and maybe Bentley out again. Because I mean, if the concussion thing has really gotten strict in the NFL now, so
I don't expect Bentley to play personally. I expect Houston to play. Some people think Delmas is getting there, but he hasn't practiced, I don't believe, yet.
No, he hasn't.
So, honestly, the way this team has been taking things, I don't think he'll play if he doesn't get to practice very soon.
Yep. Another thing that we got to look at is
Stafford.
Yeah.
We haven't talked too much about him. We mentioned a little bit. His bad throws look bad.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened in that one interception. It was one of the ugliest interceptions I've ever seen.
Yep.
I mean, he was 10 yards above his guy.
Well, even the guy, or what's his name, Collingsworth, on Sunday Night Football, he even said, "What is Stafford thinking on some of these throws?" I mean, that was probably one of the worst games I've ever seen Matthew Stafford play. I mean, we mentioned it before the show that he did complete 50% of his passes.
Yeah, you know what? He actually completed, for a bad game, and there's no doubt we're not arguing it's a bad game, he still completed 60% for 230 and 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
The problem I have with the 230 and 60% looking at that is, though, he did not. It was almost like he just kind of threw away, even looking for the deep ball. He was checking off checking off all of his receivers, and then when he looked off of them for about 3 seconds, he would just dump it over to a running back. I mean, when you look at it, Joique Bell had 59 yards. Pettigrew and down, so Pettigrew, Kevin Smith, Scheffler, Burleson, Young, and Heller. Yes, they all had a catch, but all of them together had about 50 yards. Calvin was the only other receiver.
Well, not only that, Calvin 8. And then after that, your next high reception, Pettigrew 3, Bell and Smith 2, Scheffler, Burleson, Titus Young, and Will Heller only got 1 reception.
Yeah, and the one thing I really want to carry away from this, and this shows completely that we weren't looking for our deep ball at all, Calvin Johnson had the longest pass literally down the field at 26 yards. Joique Bell had one for 50 yards, but you can't call that as a long pass because Joique Bell did all of the work on that pass. I mean, Joique Bell got the ball about 3 yards past the line of scrimmage and ran the ball, so that wasn't really a deep ball down the field. I've said it from last week too. I feel like Stafford's kind of shying away from the deep ball a little bit.
I personally don't believe it has anything to do with that. I think Stafford loves the deep ball. Last week he threw it up, last week he threw it up a couple times and just didn't complete them, or we had the one to Calvin. You were playing the best defense in the NFL. I don't think that was as much as a Stafford decision as it was a coaching decision. I think they were looking to make the easier passes.
All right, now we're going to go to one that me and Brendan have been getting driven crazy for the last few years. First half, winding down. We call timeout on San Francisco's 3rd down for them to punt. What does Jim Schwartz have in his pocket?
He runs the ball
and then takes a knee. Get your offense on the field. You're in one of the biggest games of the season, and go score some points.
Well,
I don't care if it's a field goal.
And this is what aggravates me. On the road, against one of the best teams in the NFL, you're saying that you're okay going into halftime down by 8.
Yes.
With giving them the ball back.
Yep.
I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a terrible decision to me. Especially this team being known for defense. I would rather have Matt Stafford get picked off trying to score a touchdown. Because to me, that's saying, oh, we're fine. We don't need to be doing too well at halftime. Yep. No, you want to go in halftime. Even if you come away with 3 points there, come away with something. And they had a minute and 30 with 1 timeout. This is a team that has the ability to move the ball like that. Some teams can't, but this is a team that's very, very good at that.
I don't mean to be a jerk, but 49ers had all 3 of their timeouts left. The first play, the Lions ran. It was a 2-yard gain from Kevin Smith.
I don't think they did. I think they used at least 1, maybe 2.
Okay, maybe they did, but I would have liked to see the 49ers use all of their timeouts that first half and gone down and played aggressive and scored on the Lions. Maybe that would have changed Jim Schwartz's mindset.
You know what? I'll tell you what. If the 49ers had the ball with 1 minute and 30, down by 8, up by 8's a different story. I still would like to score there, but it's a little more understandable. But if the 49ers had the ball down by 8, same situation, I have a hard time believing they would have looked to run out the clock.
Exactly. Because
And good teams in the NFL don't do that. If you're a good team in the NFL, especially a good offense, you're throwing away one possession.
Yep.
And that's where the problem is. If you're a defensive team, maybe. But when you're known for offense, you take every possession on offense you can get.
our 2 touchdowns last week came with 1 timeout and one timeout was the second drive, and in the last minute and 30 seconds of the game, it took us a minute and 20 seconds to drive 80 yards down the field and get the touchdown. Why can't we just do that on the 2-minute drive at the end of our first half? What's the difference between the end of the first half and the end of the second half? Stafford has the arm to get you down the field 80 yards.
They have the team that's built to do that.
And it's not like they were backed up to the goal line. They were on the...
Let's not get too carried away with that, because that was only one possession. But that is something me and Tom were both very frustrated with at the time of the game and still now. Now, I'm taking a look at something, in my opinion, a very good positive that we forgot. Turnovers. Honestly, I'm impressed. We kept it even.
Yeah.
I said if we kept it even, we'd win.
Yep.
That didn't happen, but we kept our turnovers even. You would have liked to see the offense get something out of the fumble on the kick return.
Yep.
But that was a nice thing to look at. However, the other thing I mentioned is important was penalties.
Yep.
And we had 8. We got I believe their penalties really started to slow down in the second half, but they were really hurting themselves with them in the first.
Yep. Another positive you have to look at, this one's actually kind of funny because he's the most irrelevant player on the field. However, Jason Hansen was definitely a positive.
I don't know if he's the most irrelevant player, but
the kicker's
overall,
if the kicker's on the field, you're not having a good day.
In general, when you kick 5 field goals, you're not going to win the game.
Exactly. And, you got to give credit to Jason Hansen, though. He went 4 for 5. The one that he missed, he barely squeaked to the left a little bit.
He hit the post, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, I give all the credit in the world. That he's the reason why he's been your kicker forever, but we're not going to spend our time on the kicker because, like I said, not really relevant to the game if we're going to still lose by 8. But let's move on now. Let's go to the 49ers receivers, the big-time receivers. Davis, Crabtree, Manningham, all 3 of them had over 20 yards. However, Manningham had 3 catches for 28 yards. Crabtree had 6 catches for 67 yards. I mentioned it earlier. Crabtree's pretty much all came on that last drive. Vernon Davis was the one who really hurt us.
Do you have the yards after the catch numbers in front of you?
I do not.
I want to see if I can take a look at yards after the catch, because that was one of the things that really bothered me.
Yeah.
I don't have them currently. I'm going to see if I can find them, but we can continue to talk about them until I find them.
Vernon Davis really hurt us on Sunday. Yes, he only had 5 catches, but he also had 73 yards, and his 73 yards were probably the most significant in the game. Half of those scored a touchdown or in the game. He had one 23-yarder. I think that was the touchdown. And then I think the other touchdown was 15 or 16 yards. Vernon Davis is what I would like to see Brandon Pettigrew grow into.
He didn't have as many as last week, but he drove me crazy with his drops again.
Exactly, yeah. He did have the big touchdown catch.
Too little, too late, though.
Yeah, it was a little bit too late. Calvin really did step it up again. He was in the first half. He got 2 thrown to him. NFL on NBC called it drop passes. You can't call those drop passes. One Stafford threw about 3 feet behind him, and he tried to get his paw on it, and he did. So that's why they called it a dropped catch. But I think Calvin does get hurt a lot having the big hands and our long arm length, because of the fact that every single time he gets a ball thrown to him, they're expecting him to catch it. One thing I did not like, another one in the game, Stafford scrambled twice in that game.
You know what? I loved his one. I don't know if you didn't like it. The one that he called on his own.
The one where it looked like they were going 5 wide, and he faked the pass and then ran for 10 yards. I didn't mind that one as much as the offensive line almost got him killed on the first scramble. He got away, or it was in the first half. He got away from the one blitzer. And then as he's running, he gets almost laid out on the first. If he didn't,
I don't remember that play, but I did like a lot the play where, like you said, they went 5 wide, and they said that. I don't know if the announcers were right, but they mentioned that was his own call. Yeah. That the receivers were still running routes. He saw nobody up the middle, picked up 10 yards. Some people suggest that Matt Stafford can't run the ball. I don't know what they've been watching. He doesn't, because he You don't want to get him hurt.
We don't want him to run the ball.
Right. Well, you know what, though? If he's got it for him and he had an easy slide like he did there, I'm perfectly fine with it. Unfortunately, I'm not able to find the yards after catch. I don't know where to find that. I thought it would be a lot easier because I thought it was a common stat. But let's just say there were a lot of yards after catch for the 49ers. There was a lot of missed tackles.
Yeah, well, a lot of Alex Smith's passes were basically just little screen passes that he threw over the defensive line, and then either Crabtree or Frank Gore, who we're going to get to in a second because that was honestly a game killer. But all of those guys would catch the ball, and they would still go about at least 20, 25 yards down the field, and that was killing us throughout that entire game. I mentioned it. We're going to go to Frank Gore now. He had 17 carries for 89 yards, but he was making our defensive line just look like crap until the fourth quarter. I mean, he was bursting through the hole, and then once he got through the hole, he was still getting about 6 or 7 more yards before.
The big thing is that there was always a hole.
Yeah,
that's where the biggest issue is.
And in the first half, this goes back to the screen passes from San Francisco. We were really, really failing to wrap up people in the first half because there were a lot of broken tackles. I mean, in that first drive, I made a joke on my Facebook page saying I don't know if a Lions defender even touched the offense on the first drive because it was so bad.
Yeah, that was a quick drive. But speaking of the Lions' defensive line, they were confusing to me. I really wish I could go back and check this. It seemed like they were getting a lot of pressure when they blitzed, which would make sense, of course.
Yep.
Because every once in a while, the Lions got right to Alex Smith. He had to run in circles only to get sacked.
Yep.
But other times, Alex Smith sat there all day in the pocket with no one in his face. Yep. I would guess it has something to do with the blitz, which, if you've been listening to our show on a regular basis, you certainly know I want to blitz more. Why are we not sending pressure?
Yep.
We don't have the corners. We don't have the safeties. Let's force him to make a quick decision. I don't know if this is true either. I'm sorry for throwing these things out there that I just read. I don't know how much these people actually know. I read somewhere that Gunther Cunningham is really big on the blitz. He likes to send extra guys and put the receivers in press coverage. So that way, which makes sense, but right now what we're doing is we're giving them a cushion and still sending extra guys, or we're not sending extra guys and we're not giving a cushion.
Yeah.
The problem with that is if you don't give a cushion and you blitz, it's easy to make a quick decision because there's open passes.
Yep.
I don't know what is actually the case there, but that makes a lot of sense. If we really truly are giving them a cushion when we send extra pressure, why are we bothering to send extra pressure? Anyone can make that pass.
One thing that kind of irked me in the game, the secondary had probably 3 opportunities to pick off Alex Smith. I mean, we did have Alex Smith he's become better just on the count of he's not really turning the ball over anymore.
Oh yeah, no, he's become one of the best in the game in that.
Exactly. However, in that game, there were 3 opportunities that we did have.
There was the one major one. I don't remember quite when. Late in the game.
Yeah, but there was also one where he threw one to Vernon Davis through the middle. It went through Vernon Davis's hands, and one of our linebackers was right there. I forget who it was, so I can't really verify.
I believe it was Levy.
Yeah, it might have been Levy, but it was tipped by Levy, and then it was just floating up in the air, and literally nobody's around. So, I mean, that was one opportunity. I said one of the keys to the game was we had to get one.
Yeah, you wanted one more turnover than them. I said,
and honestly, I think it would have happened. If we would have had one interception in that game, it could have been a completely different game because it would have taken San Francisco's offense on the field, which is honestly what was killing us.
Well, here's a key stat. Matthew Stafford only completed 19 passes, only had 32 attempts, which is okay for a team that is balanced. Honestly, you want to see Stafford throw the ball 45 times.
Alex Smith and Matthew Stafford had the exact same game, basically.
Matt Stafford had one less completion, 1 more attempt, 4 more yards, 5% less completion percentage.
And Detroit, I'm going to tell you right now, if Matthew Stafford is having the same game as Alex Smith, we're in trouble.
Yep.
That is not
you won't win too many games against
that is
San Francisco.
not what type of game that we want from Matthew Stafford. I said it from the beginning. Matthew Stafford, as much as it pains me to say it, needs to throw the ball about 40 to 50 times a game. I mean, it's not what everybody likes to see, but this team is going to be it's going to be a gunslinging team, and that's exactly what this team is going to be made of for the next few years. I mean, when you've basically drafted enough receivers to put in an army now. You can
field 3 teams, the wide receivers.
Right, exactly.
And we haven't even seen Broyles out there yet.
Right. Which, I mean, I actually threw a text out there to Brendan saying, where is Broyles? I
personally am not concerned. We knew he wasn't going to be out there. You don't need him. I mean, I'll be excited to see what he can do when he gets out there, but
I agree, but I feel like this would have been a good game just to get him out there if he was healthy enough because of the fact
question.
he was one of those diamond in the rough type things. I mean, this could have been one of the weeks where he could have been our Ogletree.
Well, they claimed that last week he missed because of a healthy scratch, and if that's the case, I can see why you would want them to play him against the 49ers. If he's not truly a healthy scratch and they're just saying that, if his health is not coming along as fast as they originally expected, I think they made the right call.
Yep. Another one.
Either way, I'm not concerned.
Another one I'm going to throw out there again. I like I said, they don't give. I said this last week actually. They don't give much love to the offensive line, but I did not see Riley Reef out there again this past week. I'm okay with Broyles, like Brendan said. It's okay to kind of slowly get him into the game or into the season or whatever. However, with your number one pick is usually on the field pretty much in week 1, and if not in week 1, he's going to at least start being part of the team by week 2.
I don't really have any problem with him not starting.
Right,
Actually,
exactly.
I think it's probably the right call.
No, exactly, but I would like to see a little bit of him on the field at least. I mean, if he's going to be your first round pick, especially a top 25 pick, he's got to see a little bit of playing time, and so far I have not seen him on the field, and the only reason why I say that is NBC prides itself on every single time there's a rookie coming on the field, they make sure to tell you where he's from, his date of birth, his social security number, and everything. I did not hear anything about Riley Reef. But let's move on.
Well, hold on, I want to point out something about him real quick. I guess I read last week that the NFL was starting to release snap count numbers. I don't know if they're out yet on the Lions 49ers game, but last week the entire offensive line played every single down. It was Stafford and the entire offensive line played every single down. And Riley Reef played one play where he played a tight end essentially. Yep. But go ahead, you can move on now.
Well, we've pretty much dissected this game. One more thing I do want to throw out there for this game. I said it last week. I hate to keep going back to our pregame show, but I mean, it's kind of we threw out a lot of these points, and they would have made sense in this game. We said we wanted to see the Lions have a little bit of the no huddle in all of their games now. We really didn't see much of a no huddle at all. I mean,
it is hard to get the no huddle going when you're really struggling the way they were.
Right.
You wanted to mention about the running backs that were coming in.
Oh, yeah. We do have some news coming straight from one of the articles that I was reading yesterday. 2 running backs are coming to town to work out this week. Jim Schwartz said that, first I'm going to get to one of our running backs. He does say that Mikel LaShore is going to be a significant factor in week 3, and he has been working hard to get ready for this game. If Mikel LaShore comes back and he can do anything, I mean, that's going to help this team a lot. I mean, Kevin Smith is not really a known back, and he's already performing. So if Mikel LaShore can just do
if you can split the carries between them well, I honestly I can see them a lot like a Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw matchup. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not going to be quite the same because the Giants are always a better running team than we are.
Yeah, but now I'm going to get to the news. The Lions are bringing in 2 running backs. One has already been here this offseason. The other one has not. Ryan Grant and Steve Slayton are both coming in to work out. We were talking about it yesterday. I agree with Brendan. You have to get one of those 2. I mean, for as many receivers as we have, I think it's time to kind of stockpile on running backs and see.
Running back is a position of quantity. You want a lot of running backs because a lot of guys can fill in and have a good game at any time. You never know what they're going to do.
Yep, and I mean, like we said, we don't want the Lions to become a rushing team. However, any little bit's going to help this team. And if we can get a Ryan Grant or a Steve Slayton, who have been known to actually be really good starters.
They both had one really good season.
Exactly.
Ryan Grant had a couple decent seasons. I believe after Slayton's solid season, he got hurt and really hasn't been heard from since. He's very small. Slayton's the guy I want. He's a lot like Javid Best. Not obviously the same level of Javid Best, but he's a very fast, very small back. And his job wouldn't be to be an every down back. I like having specialty backs in the NFL, where he can come in for like the Saints have. You got Sproles as the faster one. You got Ingram's the guy who picks up the short, tough yardage.
Oh, I meant to actually throw one more thing out to you guys, and then we're gonna move on to one other subject that's kind of been irking me lately. I got to get onto a Lion real quick. Titus Young, step up your game, please, because this is getting ridiculous. This is the 4th time this season already I've watched Stafford yell at you during a play because you've ran your route lazy or wrong. Get your head in the game and start making a play. because we did not. I've been telling everybody since I've seen you first play in the league last year that you could become a Wes Welker. You're not going to become a Wes Welker lazily running your routes or dropping passes when they're wide open or not running the right routes. Get your head in the game, get out there and start doing something because this is getting ridiculous. You had one catch for 11 yards in the biggest game of the season. I mean, you've got to step your game up so we can start getting Calvin a little bit more open because you just standing out there and not running the right routes is not working right now. Brendan, if you want to throw anything out there.
I personally didn't notice too much of Titus Young. I don't know. I think you're quicker to be tough on younger guys. I think Titus Young was known as having a little bit of wide receiver in him, I guess. Wide receivers are known for kind of doing their own thing. Of course, you want to see that worked out. I think it will over time. One thing I was talking about with my dad that I think Titus Young's big problems come on the field, not off the field. And when I say that, I don't mean he's a bad player on the field. I mean he gets heated on the field.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And those are if there's an issue, I'd rather them be on the field like that than off.
What I'm getting frustrated at, though, is he's kind of getting that diva mentality going right now. To where Stafford,
which is normal in young receivers, and he's not your number 2.
Stafford's been trying to shut him up for 2 weeks now, and it's just time for Titus Young to put on his pads and go play football instead of worrying about not catching the ball as much. I'm sorry, you have Calvin Johnson in front of you. You're not going to be the first receiver that Stafford looks at all the time. Calvin is going to be the number 1 receiver. If that's what you were planning on doing when you got here, then you're stupid. I'm sorry, because you're not gonna get as many touches as Calvin or as many looks as Calvin. He's the number 1 receiver in football. However, if you can get yourself open, you are gonna get a lot of reps, and you're gonna get your time. And you could honestly be an 100-yard receiver every single day if you're gonna be or run the right routes and everything. That's the only thing.
And you can usually take over the number 2 position.
Exactly. All right, we've pretty much killed this game now. We've wrapped it up. Bad loss for the Lions. However, it did have a couple promising things. I want to throw out one more thing. We're gonna make this quick because we're running out of time. Replacement officials, NFL referees, please make a deal because this is ridiculous. I don't know if you watched any of that Monday night game yesterday.
I didn't get to watch most of it. I was working.
Holy cow! The first quarter lasted an hour and 15 minutes. They thought it was going to be a 4-hour game. It was ridiculous. I'm sorry. John Fox had to use 3 challenges in the first quarter and got all 3 successful in the first quarter because they were bad. I mean, they're making a huge point out of this. The NFL doesn't want to admit it. They keep saying the only reason why they're doing bad is because there's so much pressure on them and all referees make mistakes. Yes, all referees do make mistakes.
My biggest problem is the time it takes to get a penalty right. It's like you make a call and you take 15 minutes to sit there and figure out where the ball should be.
Yep. And it's just, I don't know, it's becoming ridiculous. I mean, there were a couple times in the Lions game where the play clock ran out. And they did not.
There was the one on the. It was actually the pass interference in the end zone, I believe.
Yep.
Play should never been ran. The play clock was out. It wasn't the play clock. It was actually the game clock was out. But that play should never been ran.
I know. One funny thing, if you want to go back and look at the Lions game, I don't know if you can get the clip. There was a referee who actually had a little bit of a funny saying in the game. He told the play clock director to please reset the flame cock, and apparently they can speak in tongue now because he reset the game clock.
Not only that, I believe he once mentioned a first down resulting in a first down.
Yeah, yep.
Early on in the game, he called a penalty. I believe it was offsides or something. It was first down resulting in a first down. And I was like, that's interesting.
I've never watched a football game where they might need to start making censor buttons so they can beep out words, but I guess we finally found a calling for the censor button guy now. Well, Detroit, like I said, you can take a couple things away from this game, but don't start to panic yet. I mean,
we'll look at next week.
This team can still start 4-1. We're going to look at this next week, probably in the next couple days. We'll get it up. But and remember, please start commenting on our videos and letting us know the final scores. Last week we didn't have a single person comment on the score, and nobody won the prize. We do have a prize for you, so. You guys get on our Facebook page, like us on Facebook at the Riles and Riley Rundown. Also go on YouTube, check out our views, give us some likes, comments, or let us know what you think of the team. We're probably going to have to throw in a Tigers episode here in a couple days because I think me and Brendan are at the point where we're about to have to go down to Comerica and take Leland's job.
I'll be there tonight.
So for Brendan Riley, this is Tommy Riles. We will see you guys next week, and go Lions.